Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. We will keep the conversation on the NBA Draft Combine coming with some of the other news and notes over the last couple days. First piece of news that I really kind of want to dive into. I think it has been a very interesting couple days for Yaxel Lendeborg, of course, who, in my opinion, Yaxel Lendeborg was the number one player in the transfer portal this past spring, okay? So I've told the story, but, listen, my job, kind of pay attention, see what's going on, who could potentially enter, who's this, who's that. And you started to hear Yaxel Lendeborg's name more and more. Played at UAB, averaged 17 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, about a block and a half and a steal and a half, 6'9". And like I said, it was like January, maybe early February, where it was like everybody was like, is this kid going to enter? Where would he consider? I think he'd be the number one player in the portal. Listen, we don't have to like the current state of college sports, but I guarantee, if you're a fan of a blue blood, your staff was looking into Yaxel Lendeborg. And as I said, when he entered the portal, it was like Christmas Day in some of these coaching offices. It was like when a star NBA player hits free agency, or when you get the number one pick in the NFL draft, or when you think you could get the number one pick in the NFL draft. And so Yaxel Lendeborg, great player, enters the transfer portal. He does commit to Michigan with the big caveat that he is still going to go through the NBA draft process, and he could potentially end up staying in the NBA draft. Now, by the way, that was a risk that I guarantee you every staff that was recruiting him was willing to take. We'll be happy to take his commitment in March and April, even if we're going to have to sweat all the way through maybe the NBA draft deadline to see if we can get him to campus. Well, I bring it up because sweat is what you are probably going to do, because Yaxel Lendeborg has been at the NBA Draft Combine and he has been balling. He has been showing why many people believe that he is going to be, if he returns to college basketball, one of the best players in the country. He's the biggest reason I have Michigan as a top 5 team coming into next year. So what are the updates on Yaxel Lendeborg? 2 different updates. I have sound for one, not sound for the other. Blame producer Matt. His flight is taken off, and we couldn't get him to get the second piece of sound in. But this was Yaxel Lendeborg early in the week. Remember, he is in the NBA draft, committed to Michigan. If he returns to Michigan, Torres has him as a top 5 team. Here is what he had to say early in the week about his decision to return to college basketball.
Where do you stand with the draft combine versus Michigan?
Man, I am more in between than I can be, to be honest. I took the visit to Michigan. The visit was amazing. I really loved it. I would love to play there. And then the NBA thing is just, the all be all. So it's like 50-50, maybe 60-40, so.
Who's got the 60?
Oh, that's tough. Michigan.
All right, so when do you think you're going to decide?
I think I'm going to use all the 8 days, 18 days, 10 days I got left. How many days? Yeah, I'm going to have 10 days left. I'm going to use all 10 days to make that decision.
And what do you think will be the deciding factor?
Just how comfortable I feel, whatever brings me the most peace.
And if you were at Michigan, what kind of impact would you have?
Well, I set goals for myself. If I go to Michigan, I would want to win Big Ten Player of the Year and at least get us to the final.
So that was early in the week for Yaxel Lendeborg, of course, committed to Michigan. And first of all, I thought just in that there was some interesting notes. One, he said, first of all, the 60-40 thing is what caught everybody's attention. That was courtesy of Andy Katz, who always does a great job covering college hoops in the NBA draft. But 60-40 that he's going to Michigan. But then I thought there were 2 other interesting things. One, that he may take this all the way to the deadline. It looks like, what is it? May 28th is the deadline. So I think he's got like another 2 full weeks if he really wants it. By the way, this is always subject to change. I always like to make that as a reminder, make that as a heads up. But he could decide today that he's staying in the draft. But I bring it up because that was early in the week, 60-40, taking it to the deadline. And also, I thought the last part was interesting too. If I go to Michigan, I'm going to be Big Ten Player of the Year and put Michigan in a position to make a Final Four. Anything less will be considered a failure. So that's the kind of player he is. That's how much he believes in himself. But here's where it gets concerning if you're a Michigan fan. Later in the week, he did an interview after Wednesday in which he dominated. And he actually referenced the 60-40 quote. He said, quote, this was on Wednesday, by the way. He said, quote, I know I just said 60-40 with Michigan, man, but this whole process is really opening my eyes. I feel like now I'm definitely equal. I'm super stuck. Quicksand, whatever you want to call it. I'm stuck in between for sure. This whole NBA thing has been insane. I'm pretty even. I love Michigan, the idea of going over there and developing, but the NBA is what everybody wants, so I'm dead in the middle right now. It's hard. Listen, first of all, I don't want to this is tough for everybody, okay? And I think we all, and I can be guilty of this too, is I think we all go into these things thinking, oh, this kid's definitely going in. This kid's definitely returning. This kid is definitely doing something. It only takes one call, one conversation, one whatever to completely flip things on your head. And by the way, I know fans get frustrated at this time of year, but here's the truth. This is a life-altering decision for Yaxel Lendeborg, and he should take as much time as he wants. The good news is he's got two great options between Michigan and the NBA, but he should take as much time as he needs, because the truth is there's no wrong answer as long as it comes from his heart and he does what he wants. But I will also say this, as somebody who has been following and covering this stuff for a long time, it sure does feel to me like that sounds like a young man that probably wants to stay in the NBA draft. Now, what's interesting, but first of all, by the way, because I know Michigan fan, oh, Torres, you're just you don't like my school. You want him to leave. No. I want Yaxel to come back, man. Because one, I just want America to see how good he is. Two, I'll just be transparent. I'm going to Vegas Memorial Day weekend. I got a little cash put aside for a Michigan future that I might throw a couple bucks on, but I'd like to know next weekend if he's coming back or not. Memorial Day weekend is already next weekend. So we'll see if we have some details by then. But again, this goes back to what I said a minute ago with Carter Bryant. Is I do think a lot of these kids come in thinking, I probably am not ready and da-da-da-da and this and that. But then again, you get wined and dined, you're flying all over the country, you're around NBA people, and you get caught up in what it could be. Now, the thing with Lendeborg, it's a lot different than Carter Bryant. Okay, by the way, I think I say Yaxel's last name wrong. I think it's Lendeborg. So if I'm saying it wrong, Yaxel, and you're watching, I apologize. But the difference between Yaxel and Carter Bryant is he has a much more interesting and in many cases much more dynamic situation because he is not a guaranteed first-round pick. Now, I think he will go in the first round. If the NBA draft was tonight, 30 players have to be selected. I think he would be one of those 30. But he is not a guy that's guaranteed. And even if somebody gives you a guarantee, when you're in that 20 to 30 spot, you just never know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to fall. You don't know who's going to rise. You don't know who's going to trade into the top, into the first round, trade out of the first round. And all of a sudden, things can go haywire really quick. So this isn't Carter Bryant that's going to be a top 10, top 15 pick. It's not whoever, Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper. This is a complicated situation with no easy answer. Now, the good news is, like I said, he's got two very interesting options depending on what he chooses. Behind door one is the NBA. Now, behind door two is a very big bag at Michigan and a very, I think, very, opportunistic situation for him at Michigan. Now, I thought it was interesting. In his comments on Wednesday night, he said it's not about the money, and I actually believe that. I think he's going to make money either way, and it's going to be, frankly, life-changing money. It's either going to be life-changing money in college or life-changing money in the NBA. But the issue becomes with Michigan, what they're really trying to sell him is, one, come here and we're going to take care of you. That's one. I was told, over the last couple of weeks that, Michigan basically told him, we'll make sure that you are one of the highest compensated players in college basketball. But two, I don't think it's about the money for him. Michigan's sales pitch is, dude, you could be the 27th pick this year. You could be the 22nd pick. You could be the 35th pick and have no guaranteed contract. Come here. You saw what we did last year. We made the Sweet 16 in year one under Dusty May. We won the Big Ten championship. Danny Wolf was a transfer like you. We turned him into a first-round pick. So come here, and you'll go from maybe the 27th pick, maybe the 36th pick, to, you're going to be a, top 10, top 15 pick a year from now. And so that's where it gets complicated, but it also comes back to what Yaxel said, which is that, it's about development, but it's also about getting to the league. And I'm here. I'm on the doorstep. And that, to me, is probably what made me feel like that he is probably going to stay in the draft. Now, we will see over the coming days. The good news is, as I said, Michigan is a great option. And frankly, again, I think it's harder to get the guarantee that you're looking for if you're in a position like him. And Michigan fans, since I know you probably think I'm being negative, let me say this really quick. If he comes back, I believe they can do everything that he said. I have Michigan as a top 5 team right now. Actually, I'm his number 2 in the country behind Purdue because I believe in Yaxel that much. I like Elliot Cadeau, point guard. I know he's gotten a bad rap, but when he's your 5th scorer, he can be pretty good. Namari Burnett, Roddy Gale, Adai Mara. Can you imagine Adai Mara and Yaxel Lendeborg together? Adai Mara, Yaxel Lendeborg, and Merez Johnson as your front court. So I really like this group that Dusty may put together, but it all hinges on Yaxel Lendeborg. He said he went from 60-40 to 50-50. I'd say it sounds pretty 50-50 that he's going to stay in college. Selfishly, I hope he does, but I hope he does what he thinks is best. That is your Yaxel Lendeborg update. Man, oh man, he is a fun player to watch. I'm being selfish. I hope America gets to see how good that kid is because he is special.